gonna go live. So we're here though. All right. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Morning.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome again to another Facebook Live or tete-a-tete or live stream with Dr. O. I'm Dr. LaBinton. I help people live long and well because I believe the quality of life is just as important as the quantity of life. I know some of you are feeling a little sleepy. Saturday, today I like to sleep in. I'll be honest with you, so I overslept a little bit. But we're here. We're here having conversations to empower us for this year and beyond. And I'm excited again to bring on our repeat guest, Mr. JT Tapias. Has been on here once before. I'm hoping to have him again and again. And today we'll be talking about tips to boost your energy and to feeling amazing. JT, thank you for being here. How are you?
I'm excited to be here. I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Oh, awesome, awesome. Now, if you don't mind, could you kindly introduce yourself, who you are, what you do, and why you do the things that you do?
Sure. So my name is JT Tapias, and for the last 2 decades, I have been knocking food out of people's hands, and I say that jokingly. We've been helping people lose weight and keep it off. That is our primary value proposition, is that we not only will you lose the weight, but you'll keep it off. We've been doing that for the past 2 decades. Been in the fitness and nutrition industry. This coming year, I'll be going on 25 years, which is crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, it's insane. When people see me, they're like, "How old are you?" I'm like,
Yeah, no, I was going to say.
yeah, let's just say I'm close to that 50, and yeah. So yeah, it's been a while.
Wow.
We've been doing it for a long time. It started as a God thing. To be honest with you, it was many different encounters, but one in particular that made all the difference and really led me to what I do today. And I was coming back at the time. We owned gyms. We started a gym franchise in Tampa, Florida. Things were going really, really well. I lived in this apartment complex, condo complex, and I got in the elevator and I bumped into my janitor, who I would see every morning after coming back from work. And he had a nice, 25, 30 pounds that he could lose. And so he saw me in my gym clothes and he said, "Man, how many hours do you spend at the gym?" And I said, "I actually only work out 3 days a week." And he says, "How do you look like that?" And I said, "Easy." And I gave him literally gave him three steps, which are some of our fundamental pillars today. And he said, "Okay, great." And I said, "Okay, it's going to go in one ear and out the other." And sure enough, I saw him like 40 days later, and he looked like a radically different person. I said, what happened?" And he said, "Well, I did the three things you told me to do." And I said, "You got to be kidding me." And he said, "Oh yeah." He said, I feel great. I have clarity. I've lost the weight." He says, "My wife has lost weight. My wife is 15 pounds down." At that point,
Wow.
he was like 40 something days into it. And he was already like 26, 27 pounds down. I mean, so he took the advice and he ran with it. And that just struck me. And I said, I want to do this. I just saw the happiness in his face. I felt like he had been liberated. And I wanted to do more of that for people. At the time we had the gyms, but we started to really delve into the world of nutrition, sustainability. We have a multidisciplinary approach to nutrition that includes the counseling and coaching aspect, which is very powerful when it comes to just modifying lifestyle and those sort of things. So here we are. It's almost 25 years later.
Man, and you stayed consistent. I mean, anyway, we'll get to the questions. This is amazing. For those of you who are watching live, please, if you know someone who should be watching this, don't let his first statement scare you about knocking fruit out of people's hands. He replaces it with good kind of food. There's still food involved. Please share, tag, comment, because this is going to be very good. Wow, 25 years. All right,
Yeah.
so we're talking, boosting energy and feeling amazing.
Mhm.
Because I sense there's a trade-off here.
Mhm.
And but let's start with the why. What are common reasons people have low energy that you've noticed in your work?
So, we always say that the pillars in this order, in this sort of hierarchy of what we need as humans is, and it's probably the thing that most people don't think about, is sleep. People are sleep deprived. Um, Oftentimes it has to do with our own desire to wind down and sit in front of the television or scroll or do all those things. and people are really sleep deprived, and everything hinges on sleep. If your body is stressed, then you're going to secrete more cortisol than you need to secrete, that stress response hormone, which we need a little bit of. But when we secrete too much of that, it just taps into our energy and all the other systems. Second to that is hydration. Most people are chronically dehydrated. We just don't drink enough liquids. The good news is that all liquids hydrate. And I have to make a little exception to that. I mean, coffee still hydrates, but at the same time, because there is a diuretic, it's considered a diuretic. It will also dehydrate, and so, but all liquids hydrate. But people aren't drinking enough water throughout the day, and so they're chronically dehydrated. And then, of course, everything hinges on what you eat. Nutrition, and because we live in this nutrition saturated country, for those here in the U.S., this is where all the gurus, where all the books are written on dieting and all these things. There's a lot of confusion, and so I see a lot of people. I see a lot of confused experts, is what I call them.
Wow. Sleep, hydration, nutrition. I didn't see movement in there. Would you say the three are the most?
I'm glad you said that. So yeah. So a couple of things. So when I jokingly say I knock people's food out of their hand, that doesn't mean that I don't replace it with something else. So yeah. So the idea there is that we are knocking out the empty calories, but we're bringing in nutrient density. 9 out of 10 people that come through a program are not hungry while losing 25, 30 pounds in just 90 days. So that alone is, it brings hope to people, because most people only think of the first three letters of the word diet when they think of dieting. They think you're going to die. They think you're going to be hungry, deprived. And what we do is far from that. The reason I leave always nutrition, or the physical activity, activating your physiology, I almost leave out of that equation, is because that's the first go-to for most people. We're coming on. Yeah, we're coming on January, February, right? Where most people join a gym. They have these New Year resolutions. Top of the list is always get healthy, move more, go to the gym. And that doesn't last very long. And I think what happens oftentimes is that most people try to tackle too many things at once. They want to change their nutrition, and they want to create the habit of going to the gym, and they want to start drinking more water. And they start off with all this enthusiasm, but surely, 2-3 weeks in, that sort of wavers. And so we are big proponents for going after the things that are going to bring the biggest return on investment in the shortest period of time, to create that momentum, that excitement. And then we move on to the easy thing, which is actually moving, going to the gym. That stuff is all fun, right? For a lot of people, that's the easy part, right? Let me go check off the box. Let me go to the gym. I'll get on the treadmill while I scroll on social media. That's the easier thing. Really, the challenging aspect is the nutrition component, right? Being able to stay self-controlled, being able to, when those emotions kick in, not mitigate those emotions with extra calories, and so on and so forth. And so, the easiest part is working out. The nutrition component, dialing that nutrition component in, I would say is one of the most challenging parts for most people. And so we like to focus on those things that really, really move the needle.
I like that. So let's tackle. I'm going to kind of harp a little bit on nutrition. You mentioned self-control, and there's a loving relationship with food. You're happy, you eat. You're sad, you eat. How do you negotiate that? Because for someone who's watching, who's like, "Whoa, he sounds kind of militant, man." So how do you balance? Like, how do you say, it's worth the trade-off? Like, give us tips on the nutrition piece, because that's a struggle for many. The holidays are around. I keep telling my patients, it's a holiday, not a holiday week, not a holiday month. The one day you wanna do the things. I mean, yes, for a little, but you want to be careful. But for someone who's, and I've had people have conversations with me, like, and this one changed my mindset or my approach. It was like, Doc, I life is hard. I work all day. I come home. The one thing I get to enjoy my food, you want to take from me. And he looked at me, and was like, that's not nice, Doc. And I was like, oh, wow. So it changed my approach on how I broach the subject. So it's more, here's what you get in return. There are other ways to. So can you talk for someone who's watching who's like, I'm scared. The idea of nutrition, I've already put on a mental block. How do you broker this with your clients?
Sure. No, that's a great question. And so I'm a counselor by trade.
Mhm.
And so we view the world of nutrition through the lens of addiction. Heavy word that you usually hear, in terms of alcohol, drugs, cigarettes. Rarely do you hear people talk about food in terms of an addiction. The truth is, anything that secretes dopamine can easily become an addiction. And so food is one of those things where we kind of think and we say, well, at least I'm not drinking or smoking or doing all those other things. It's just food. But if we start to really look and we look at the statistics and we realize that food, right, at least in America, kills more people than cigarettes, drugs, and alcohol put together, and we realize that we have a huge issue before us. That's number one. Number two, I understand there's a lot of emotional anchors attached to food, right? Think about this. This is something I think about all the time. When you're a baby and you start, throwing a tantrum, breaking down, the first thing your mom, your dad does is hand you a bottle with formula. As a baby, you start to anchor the idea that anytime you feel stressed or you have anxiety, that you should eat. And it gives you a nice 30, 60 seconds, maybe 2, 3 minutes of comfort, that false sense of security. But then oftentimes what I hear is that for the next 2 to 3 days, people have this remorse that they ate the thing that they knew they shouldn't have had. And so the trade-off for me is this. I have this inside of our groups, this thing I always say, and I say, tame your hunger, tame your life. One of the beautiful things about being able to self-control in the area of food is that it provides a huge lever when it comes to discipline and self-control, not just with food, but in every aspect of your life. So the trade-off is this: hey, if we can regulate these things without being hungry, right? Important piece there, without being hungry. But in 6 to 8 weeks, you could start seeing other areas of your life, your marriage, your finances, your friendships, how you show up in the world, your energy levels. If you could see all those things radically change and you be more efficient in everything you do, would you be willing? Would you be willing to trade, 6 to 8 weeks of consistency to be better in all areas of life? And so when we look at it from that perspective, that's way more motivating than simply saying, hey, for 6 to 8 weeks, restrict yourself so that you can be down in weight. That stuff is valid, but it motivates very little. When we look at the more intrinsic aspects of life and we connect it to that, it's super powerful.
Wow. Wow. You dropped a lot of gems here. I mean, it costs what it costs.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
price, yeah, it costs what it costs. There's no negotiating that. And so there's no way around that. And I love how you're saying that mastery in one area can lead to many other benefits. How you show up, how, and I'm very big on helping people live long and well so they can fulfill God's encrypted will for their lives. And so these conversations are necessary. These are
Mhm.
eye opening for those who are watching. I want you to be encouraged. It costs what it costs, but it is a price worth paying. Now let's talk nutrition still. So,
Mhm.
what
Mhm.
foods would you say are good for energy? Because you're not. I don't hear you saying we should go food free. That's not what you're saying, right?
No,
It's just
absolutely.
change. It's changing what we eat. So let's talk. What are tips? What kind of foods are good for us to eat to help sustain energy? Um, yes.
Sure, sure. So muscle is basically the main deposit site for glycogen. Anything that we eat converts to energy. That energy goes to one of three places. It goes to liver stores, muscle, or adipose tissue, right? Which is fat. So the idea is we want to minimize high insulin yielding foods. And so when I say high insulin yielding foods, I'm speaking about the starches. Now, we don't demonize food groups. We don't think any food group is bad or should be demonized. But if we don't have healthy muscle tissue, if we're not utilizing glycogen well, it's being more stored as fat than it is being utilized by what I call a suitcase muscle, because we just don't have enough muscle or muscle tissue isn't healthy. then what's going to happen is that's going to exacerbate the challenges if you're eating these high insulin yielding foods. So we put them aside for a little bit in order to make progress, in order for the metabolism to get healthy enough and utilize the energy efficiently. And we do that basically through eating plenty of green leafy vegetables, which are nutrient dense. Some of my favorite are, asparagus, green beans. I love broccolini. And, we combine those with salads, but we make delicious salads. I mean, these salads have, if you like peppers, if you like, we put cucumbers, tomatoes. Some people like to put celery over them. We talk about healthy fats, things such as olive oil.
What kind of dressing, though? Let's talk. What kind of dressing
Yeah.
you put in food?
I once again, so one of the things we talk about inside of our program is you don't have to necessarily go for the super. Let's say you say, hey, I just don't like the diet dressings out there. So we say, okay, so we can portion control some of the regular dressings. That's not obviously the thing that I'm telling my people that they should be doing, but some people that's where they are, and they're like, hey, I love my ranch. And like, okay, so how do we regulate that? Now, if I had it my way, vinaigrette, right, is always the way to go. I love vinaigrette. We add vinaigrette. I love to add lemon to all my food. I love just putting some lemon, adding just a little pinch of sea salt is important. And so we talk about that. We talk about lean grass-fed proteins. And so we are proponents for lean protein. Protein is one of the great things about protein is that it's one of the macronutrients that spikes less insulin than the other macros. So we can get away with a lot. It keeps you satiated. I know for a fact that, people that are eating their requirements in protein on a daily basis are not necessarily, scanning the kitchen to eat the things that they shouldn't be eating. In other words, it helps up your self-control. And so, yeah, in essence, it's leafy green veggies, lean grass-fed proteins, and healthy fats, ideally.
I think I'll consider. I'm eating salads without dressing for almost 8 years. I don't do dressing at all. Yeah, but I use ginger, cilantro, kind of grate over, maybe squeeze of lemon too. The lemon gives it, and sometimes I put some pepper.
No, that's good. That's good. There's nothing wrong with that. You can basically add anything. The thing that I would be cautious of is all the enhancers that have sodium in them. And so you don't want to overdo sodium. We need sodium, but if you overdo it, if you're doing too much of it, and with the way you're seasoning your foods, what ends up happening is you start to retain water. There could be water retention depending on, your health. If you have high blood pressure, that can become problematic. But if you're eating lots and lots of salt, and so, being able to regulate that, but crushed herbs, anything that is zero sodium, that is in the form of crushed herbs and brings flavor to your food all day.
Awesome. So it's not your taste buds don't have to suffer. It's just we're choosing quality. We're choosing quality foods that make for a better quality of life. Awesome.
Doc, I'm South American, so hey, we love our food. I'm from Colombia.
Man. Also, I like that. Because people always think, sometimes people think eating healthy means you give up on taste. That's not true. That is not true.
Can I define what that is though?
Yes, please. Go ahead.
So when we say that, the question to that person is in comparison to what? and usually if people are honest, they will give you the all these like artificial flavorings that they have in their current food, and their palates are desensitized to the sugary and salty things. Here's what's interesting. When people come through our program and they've been on our program for 6 to 8 weeks, when they go back to those foods, they go, oh, I can't tolerate that anymore.
Yep.
Because we reset their palate. And when you're there, you're golden, because at that point, no one has to say, do this or do that. You just naturally are a different person. You eat different at that point.
That is so true. I've seen that happen over and over again. Before we go to the next question, someone is asking a very good question. Says, and thank you, Stylish Babe 90, for asking. People say eat leafy vegetables, but it's not organic. then we're eating genetically altered vegetables. I'm worried as a woman that this is affecting our hormones. I'll let you speak on that, what your thoughts are, and then I'll share my view as well.
Sure. So, with the whole idea of organic, I get it. People come to our program and say, "Hey, I strictly eat organic," and if you are playing the game at that level, then great. More power to you. Sure, I'll show you exactly what you need to do. The truth is, most people aren't there. Um, the other thing to consider is that the things that claim to be organic oftentimes are not. Right? It has become a premium market, and a lot of people are profiting from false claims. So, should you be careful with your sources? 100%. I think that that's generally not what's throwing people's hormones off. I can tell you that 99% of the time, it's all the other dysfunctionalities that people are carrying, like the lack of sleep, like the lack of movement, not bringing in a nice macro balance. That throws hormones off more than anything else. Processed foods, stress. I mean, I can go on and on and on. It's more that side than the, eating organic or not. That being said, once again, if you're playing the game at that level, great.
Mm.
Just make sure you check your sources.
I agree, and the truth is, organic is on multi level. It's not just the food or the seed; it's also the soil, it's the environment. We don't use cow dung or manure anymore. It's fertilizers, like chemical. Um,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
I'll be honest
mm-hmm.
with you. This I went to the grocery store. You know the little water thing hose they're spraying on the vegetables.
Yes.
That it's not water. It's not water to clean the vegetables. It's a chemical to keep the vegetables looking like it's not going, so it doesn't go bad for a longer time. I was so upset. I was like, "What's that?" I'm like, "It didn't taste like water." Yeah, I tasted a little bit. Just check. It doesn't.
It's
It
the
was not water.
Yeah, it's the dark science of food, right? Even the commercials you see on the television, when you see the juicy, things that they put on the TV, like oftentimes, there's a whole video on this on YouTube where you see that the milk that they put on commercials is actually glue. You see that any of the things that look vibrant are actually artificial foods. I mean, so there's a lot of that. Our vegetables and our foods in general are sprayed with insecticides. The word "side" means death, right? And so it's there to kill the bacteria, but it's also killing the nutrients. On top of that, it goes through a heat process. That evaporation process also eliminates a lot of the calories in the food. Hence the reason the right kind of supplementation is also important. Supplementing with micronutrients is super important to make up for those deficiencies, because our food is currently, nutritionally bankrupt here in America.
And the truth is, and because I don't want us to end on a morbid note, the truth is we're here. We're in America. We're not like whenever I travel out of the country, I make sure I eat like if I go to Mexico, like their organic, like dry fruit papaya. I'm going for the fruit. And it tastes so much different. But that's just different topic. I can't go there all the time. But the truth is, we're here. It is better to eat even the non-organic, healthy foods, your fresh fruits and vegetables, wash them properly. It is better to do that than not to do it at all. Because you can't do that and eat burger at McDonald's and say, well, since it's not organic, I can eat whatever. No, that is a lesser evil than that. And he had alluded to supplementation is why I also use, and I see also you have supplements too on your website. I also am big on supplementation from companies that sources organically. All right, so high quality supplements, multivitamins, where when you look at their ingredients, and this is very, very important for those watching, all you see is food, not color, cellulose, gum, and artificial sweeteners. You see foods that you can recognize, because supplementation is necessary where we're at. All right.
Right. Yeah, because we are what we absorb, not what we eat. And so the bioavailability in those micronutrients is going to be way more powerful than anything that is artificial.
That's a good one. I got to write it down. We are what we absorb, not what we eat. That's so true. A lot of us have peanut vitamins because we buy crap. But okay. All right. Not what I got to, oh man, not what we eat. That's a good one. All right. But my next question, and that was a very good question, by the way, that was asked. Let's talk sleep. I'm going to give you a hiccup. Hiccups are people's objections, objections to some hard truths. So you said sleep. So I have someone who's like, Doc, I work hard. I come home. Everybody goes to sleep. That's me time. That's me and Messi on the TV. I don't know what people watch. They're watching something on TV to help them relax. And you're talking sleep.
Mhm,
Um,
mhm.
talk to us about how we trade. What's the trade off there? Why is sleep such a big deal?
I mean, sleep is everything, right? Your nervous system depends on it. This is how we restore, we recover. Your brain needs it, and so we need to fall asleep. And what happens when we fall asleep is our oxygen saturation lowers, so that we can fall asleep. The body enters into a relaxation mode. Um, we want to get to the restorative type of sleep as fast as possible. Now, there's an ocean of advice around sleep, but one of the things that I subscribe to is the idea that we should be trying to get to bed before 10 p.m. We will get better quality of sleep between the hours of 10 and 4 in the morning. Um, because I have people that say, well, I go to bed at 12, but yeah, I get up at it's like 7 or 8. I'm still getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep. What's the difference? Those sleep cycles are very, very different. Um, and I believe that what you're saying is true. People say it all the time. JT, you don't understand. I'm disciplining myself all day. I'm being an adult. And then all of a sudden I come home and it's my me time, right? I've been working all day and I'm tired and I want to wind down. My pushback on that is this. First of all, I get the sentiment. I get it. We want to wind down. We want our own time. We want to do some things. We want to be kids, right? Because we've been adults all day. And so that's okay. I personally think that you get more if you actually go to bed early and you get up earlier. Now, what I'm about to say works for me. Please don't take this as prescriptive. I go to bed at 8:30 at night every single day, 7 days a week, because I get up between 3 and 3:30 a.m. each morning. People say, "Why do you do that?" Well, because that's my alone time, and that's true alone time. That is when I'm most efficient. That is when I can sit for 2 hours and read without interruption. That's what I love to do. That's what charges me up. And I'm ready for the day. It's my day warm up, right? By 5 a.m., I am getting a sweat, whether it's cardio or lifting weights or doing something of
Wow,
that nature.
JT,
Um,
man.
I also
What?
believe I also believe in cold exposure. So I have a cold plunge. I have a minus 40-degree cold plunge, and where after I work out, I shower, and then I jump in there. Why do I do it? For recovery, for to be able to make sure that I'm recovering well from workouts. It's great for inflammation. And so I have this whole routine that I do, and I feel like $1,000,000. I am ready to take on the day after that. And so would I rather live like that, feed my mind, feed my body, feed my spirit,
Spirit.
right? And go out into the day ready, or do I want to hit the snooze button 10 times, or I call it the kill your dreams button 10 times.
Dang,
and,
man.
and then be reactive to my environment, and then all of a sudden it's 10 o'clock, I haven't had anything to eat, now I'm starving. Now I look, and some rep that comes to my company brought donuts. Guess what?
That's right.
And now you're extra caffeinated, and it's just like this perpetual cycle. And it's like, man, you can take control of your life. I know there's some trade-offs, sure, but the rewards on the other side outweigh any kind of little challenge that you have there in the beginning, getting used to that lifestyle. And that's what we teach. We don't just teach nutrition. We don't just teach weight loss. We teach a system, and where you show up as the best version of yourself, in your mind, in your body, and in your spirit. I'm a man of faith. I believe we're made in God's image. I
Yes.
believe I believe we are called to be good stewards, great stewards of this temple,
Yes.
that we are to live as a holy living sacrifice to God. And we do that in the way we eat, in the way we show up, in the way we show up in the world. And we have to be ready. This vehicle needs to be well equipped. And so it's nothing good is easy, but the rewards just outweigh any of
Mm.
the discipline aspects of it.
Wow. You know, what I'm seeing here, people always ask, you see people doing very well. You said you're almost 50. Look how strong you look. No, I'm just saying for context.
Yeah. Yeah.
It costs what it costs. You know, even in reading books of the greats, those who do wonderful things, there's a short paragraph on what they do and how long they've been doing it. A short paragraph. You said you were doing this for 25 years. You just share your morning routine.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when we see the things, that's the price.
Yeah.
Now
Sure.
mine is 5 o'clock. No, 4:45. 3 o'clock
So
is a little extra, but
that's still good. You're still part of the 5 a.m. club, right?
yeah, 5 a.m. I'm big on 5 a.m. So on the front end, and TV for me is not worth it. It's not
Right.
at all. But the reward on it, the return on investment. So I want to encourage everyone looking. I did not say come go jump in a cold plunge like he's doing. What he's saying is true. I tried it a few times, but yeah. but I want to encourage you to challenge yourself in the new year. We can't keep doing the same thing and expect a different result. So, what is something you're going to commit to doing consistently? And I've got to tell you, there is a place for accountability in having a coach like JT, in having accountability partners in areas of your life you want to grow. I want to challenge you in the new year. Do something different by partnering with someone who will help you in your life goals, be it a physician like myself or someone who will help advocate for you, as a coach like JT who will remind you of your why consistently and tell you that it is possible. Anything that is possible in God, and you can become. I mean, I've seen stories of people who swore they would never do things, who are doing things now because they made a different decision, a different pivot. JT, this was good. We already passed time. I'm definitely going to have you on in the new year, and I always like to ask people live so they can't really say no because they wouldn't look good for media. So I would
Sure.
love to have you again in
Yeah.
the first quarter next year, so we have conversations like this to encourage us in our goals. But for someone who's watching, who's like, man, JT, good for you. You must have three brains or something, or you must be a very naturally well-disciplined person. Any words of encouragement for someone who's like, well, I'm a couch potato. I don't even know where to begin. But I do want to feel better. I do know that I'm made in God's image. I'm made for something great, but right now I don't feel like doing much. Any words of encouragement before we wrap up?
Sure. I think the first thing I would say to that is that discipline is not a predisposition. It's not a pre-genetic disposition. In other words, we have a tendency to say this person is disciplined and that person isn't. When we see someone showing up consistently and doing something, what they're doing is repeating habits. And so we need to be hyper focused on the habits. It's the behaviors that we want to go after. We're good at having goals. I want to lose 30 pounds, but then we don't focus on the habits. The person that shows up consistently, the person that we call discipline, is simply a person that has strategized in habits, and they're showing up every day. They're doing the same things every day. It's that easy. You can go from being a couch potato to being a super potato in no time. All you have to do is simply say, here's what I want to do, and here's how I'm going to chunk it down. I'm going to break it up into little pieces. I'm going to walk this long. I'm going to eat this much. I'm going to I'm going to say no to this. I'm going to say no. And you go down the line with little bullet points of what that looks like from a behavior standpoint. And if you actually do the behaviors, the outcome will take care of itself.
Awesome. Stay consistent. That's the secret. Whoosh. Oh, Lord help us. All right. JT, please, for those who are watching, like, I like this dude. I like this coach. I need to partner with someone for the new year. JT, where can people find you, please?
Sure. So we're offering a free strategy kickoff call for 2025, where we're going to be covering the three principles that I talked about. And we're also hosting a 2025 reset corporate fast. Everyone can come. It's a free fast to get the year started off right. If you go to coachjttapias.com, you can find me there. You can schedule a call there. It's a free call with the three pillars on what we do, so that you can get on track with things like this. So it's coachjttapias.com. That's the website. They can go there as well, the emptyyourbucketplan.com. But Coach JT Tapias brings you straight into my line, so that way you won't speak to the other coaches, but instead speak with me directly.
Awesome. Thank you for what you do. I love your work, love your posts on social. He's on social media too. So find him all the places. Look, see. You could just watch his post every day and just be encouraged and then do the things. All right. So even if you can't join it, I challenge you to at least follow him, follow his work, and be encouraged and empowered. JT, I appreciate you big time. God bless you. I look forward to seeing you the new year. Thank you big time.
Thanks, Doc. Amen. Thank you for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. And for those of you watching, I appreciate the hearts alike. As always, please, the forward button, go ahead and forward it to people who could use this encouragement for the new year. And as always, if you're looking for an awesome, a thorough and compassionate family physician who will have conversations like this to help you live long and well, I am she. God bless you all. Have a good one. Thanks again, JT. You rock.